Hi everyone, welcome back to the next video in my video series. In today's video, I'm going to be reflecting on my Organic Valley case competition. To give some context on the competition, I'll show you this document now. As you can see on screen, the Organic Valley case scenario saw us relaunching a previously discontinued product from Organic Valley. It was called Organic Valley Fuel, and it was a protein shake which was organically sourced. My group and I were tasked with doing these following project objectives: a market needs assessment, a competitive landscape and differentiation, and a strategic recommendation where we ultimately provided a clear recommendation on whether Organic Valley should pursue a relaunch and to what target audiences that relaunch would be conducted to. In this video, I intend on going through our presentation and then quickly reflecting on some of the things that I learned, both as a person and more broadly about organic marketing. Alright, let's get into my project. This project saw me collaborate with 3 other individuals, and it was a really fun time where I was able to meet other people and speak with them about their majors, and throughout this process, I was able to see what people were good and bad at and ultimately create a product based upon our strengths and weaknesses as students. To get into our agenda, we had introductions, an overview, context for the company, our market needs assessment, our competitive landscape and differentiation, our recommendation, and then a conclusion. As an overview, we decided to give some context to what Organic Valley was as a company. Organic Valley is a farmer-owned cooperative that provides consumers with high-quality organic dairy, eggs, and vegetables. They promote values of sustainability and human and animal well-being as they source from farms across the United States. The cooperative model supports economic development and fairness for all farmers involved, offering a socially and environmentally conscious alternative to the dominant industrial food system. Then for our market needs assessment. We looked at the current context of organics in post-COVID. As consumers lead into their own personal health and wellness, they also are increasing their protein intake. So this was from the Organic Trade Association study. Additionally, we looked at the current stance of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and saw that a lot of the current political state has us turning to more health focused agendas, with removing things from the food space like seed oils, or just turning to a more health conscious department. Then we looked at the graph. This was a graph that I had previously shown, showing the total U.S. organic sales and growth from 2015 to 2024. And then the bottom right graph shows the projected growth in the coming years. And with this growth being showcased, we thought it gave good context for the overall market of organics, which is important for the basis of this project. And then for consumer demographics for the high protein milk beverage market, we thought about mothers and children, younger generations like millennials and Gen Z, health and wellness minded people, those who value environmental sustainability, and those who are fitness enthusiasts. Just because one person fits into one of these demographics doesn't mean they can't fit into multiple. For example, the younger generation of millennials and Gen Z could be health and wellness minded people, and they could care about the environment all while being gym bros. Then we created this table or graph, this is more so a kind of infographic slash table, and it showed that the protein beverage market has a gap, and that's the no added protein but organic beverage. So therefore, the unmet needs are: there's a gap in the no protein added organic dairy protein drink market. and Organic Valley can fill this with their USDA certified ultra filtered protein beverage. So, what that means is no protein added means that the milk is ultra filtered. This is what happens with Fairlife protein shakes and other brands, like if we go back to Orgain and Kate Farms, they utilize organic sourced materials. However, it's added protein to the drink. So that could be pea protein or some type of plant based protein that's also organic. Then we compared in this table the competitor companies. And as you can see in the far right, Organic Valley Fuel, the original formula, as there was two of them, has 26 grams of sugar, which is pretty substantial compared to the lower sugar contents of the other companies. And their protein to calorie ratio was 1 to 10, which is pretty good. And then what sets Organic Valley apart? We honed in on the cooperative values. They care about the environment, animals, and you. Everything comes from farms inside the US, and they treat farmers fairly with their prices and marketing techniques. And now for our recommendation. We said that Organic Valley should relaunch Organic Valley Fuel. We wanted them to modify previous marketing campaigns and recognize consumer feedback more. Marketing in the past wasn't necessarily wrong, we thought. However, we thought it was perhaps misdirected and could have been expanded upon. Additionally, with the product reformulation that occurred from the previous product to the second iteration of Fuel, we thought there was a lot of reformulation concerns that we found. Additionally, we thought there were some packaging concerns, but ultimately we understood that there was a gap in the market that Organic Valley could fulfill. Next up, we pulled some quotes and comments from previous customers of the second Organic Valley Fuel product. And as you could see, people really liked the old formula. However, it saddened them when the taste was worse. There was bitter aftertaste. In addition to the taste, it was upsetting people's stomach. And so we wanted to introduce Organic Valley Enrich, which is our presented product, with no artificial sweeteners, 20 grams of protein, and 3 new flavors. The high protein beverage made for modern Americans who care about enriching their day. Additionally, we wanted to look at the packaging and recyclability. Some people thought that the old packaging wasn't as sustainable, and so we wanted to make sure that the new packaging was recyclable. And then for product positioning, healthy, clean, and for the entire family was our mindset. We didn't really want it to be called a milk shake. That kind of has an indulgent connotation, and and we wanted a milk beverage which promotes daily use. Additionally, we wanted to use natural sweeteners instead of artificial, and we wanted to change our target audience a little bit. So since it would be the only USDA organic ultra filtered protein beverage, we wanted to shift our focus from solely gym bros and a little bit broader to health focused families and mothers. Here's another image showing the protein beverage market. And the next portion of this, the target customer base, is the primary target is farmers who care about living healthy, and the secondary target is new and expecting mothers. Then we made some ideal customer profiles like the crunchy mom, the busy teenager, the active dad, and the new mom. And now for our go-to market strategy. We wanted to actually have 2 milks for 2 different roles. So we have the breakfast moments. So partner with organic cereal and granola brands for cross promotions and pour on the protein end caps in grocery stores. Then we wanted to be able to activate in schools and kid spaces and embrace the digital way with retargeted family nutrition ads via social media. As far as the 2 milks for 2 roles, One of my other group members kind of suggested this at the end, and I think what his ideology was that one of the milks would be a little bit less protein heavy and more of like a larger milk that you could purchase from the store. Thinking about the Fairlife, not necessarily the Fairlife protein shakes, but the Fairlife half to full gallon jugs, which you see, or containers, which you see at the store. That was kind of his second milk idea. And then finally, for the marketing strategy, the campaigns we wanted were directed at existing customer base of Organic Valley. However, we wanted to direct it at both gym goers and similar individuals who are health and or sustainably focused, and obviously new and expectant mothers. For social media, we wanted to continue the campaigns which Organic Valley currently partakes in with social media, uh, YouTube videos, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. And additionally, we wanted to maybe add some recipes to their websites in order to kind of spice up some of the marketing techniques we which maybe previously haven't been used. Now to get into what I learned from this competition and a little bit of my project as a whole. So the first thing was marketing is hard, and sometimes you don't get it right the first time. With Organic Valley Fuel specifically, I think the first ad campaign was creative and it spiced things up a little bit in the organic marketing world specifically. However, I think the marketing was a little misdirected and it was a little bit too niche for the product that Organic Valley was trying to market. Specifically, I saw this with the Save the Bros campaign. It was a good ad, and I thought it was really funny and targeted its audience really well. However, I thought that this the ad campaigns that Organic Valley was utilizing could have been expanded upon, and that was kind of explained in the project. Another campaign that was really specifically directed to a demographic of people was for a similar product called Organic Valley Balance, and this was heavily marketed towards women. Although I don't know the success of the marketing uh, for this specific product, I think it was perhaps a little bit more successful due to it being a little bit more of a broader market. Ultimately, however, marketing is not easy, and that's what this bullet point is really trying to hone in on. You can be really specific or you can be really broad, but ultimately it's up to the company and their research and what they believe is best for their product, and that kind of drives their marketing and advertisement techniques. Another thing I learned from this project was the difficulty and attention to detail that goes into bringing a organic product from the farm to production to the grocery store shelves and then into someone's home as a consumer. Ultimately, this process is not easy at all. With my background in agronomy, I certainly knew that the farm and production aspect of something like a dairy operation is not easy at all. However, after the competition and some of the individuals from the Organic Valley company began to speak, I really learned the difficulties and intricacies of bringing a product to the shelves. Following the case competition, when I heard these individuals from the company speak, I was able to fully recognize the amount of work that goes into bringing a product to the shelves. There are many different product iterations, and also a lot of people that deal with one singular product. For example, you have the marketing team, which I've somewhat focused on in my project, but additionally, you have the food scientists, you have the people that are working with farmers to get the actual organic milk and get it into production. And with so many individuals, it's very clear to see the amount of work that goes into just one singular product from a company. And ultimately, as we saw with the reviews in my presentation, you can't please everyone. The first product, as one of the professionals from Organic Valley shared, actually had 52 grams of sugar. So it was essentially a chocolate milkshake with a little bit of protein added. He touched upon his experience with working with those in sports and how they wanted a high protein, high sugar beverage in order to athletes replenish athletes following their hard and strenuous workouts. Then we went to the second iteration, which ultimately came to shelves about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. This had 26 grams of protein, but also over 20 grams of sugar. Then we had a reformulation around the 2020 timeframe, which is the picture you see on screen now. And that product had artificial sweeteners, 50% less sugar, and a lot of bad reviews came with that. With all that yapping done, very simply, this is the conclusion for the second bullet point. There are a lot of different product versions that go into creating a product from a company. There are a lot of individuals that work very hard to get this product to the shelves, and ultimately you can't please everyone with your product. However, you can really take in consumer feedback and try to serve them best. These next three bullet points, or points rather, are a little bit more personal and not necessarily applicable to the broader organic market. However, they can be. Number 3, adaptability is key. Due to the 3-week time frame, adaptability was a requirement for my group members and I. With busy college schedules and little time outside of classes, my group members and I had to remain adaptable in order to ensure project work was completed both collaboratively and on schedule. And next up, communication is key. Strong communication was critical throughout the project creation process, as well as on presentation day. Communication remained pivotal for drawing business conclusions, formulating effective slides, and carefully articulating the elements of our project proposal. I would argue that communication is an incredibly important tool and something that should constantly be honed in on in any environment, whether that's academic, professional, or military and tactical. And then lastly, my 5th thing that I learned. Collaborated events are incredibly fun. Competing within the team environment was incredibly rewarding and fun, and it was both engaging and enjoyable. Collaborating my skills alongside students with different backgrounds and majors opened opportunities for differing and clever perspectives that I didn't think about. This is similar to some of the other experiences I've had in ROTC or just outside of school. And ultimately, working together for shared goals led to a meaningful development while still in a competitive environment, which always makes things a lot more enjoyable. As I said, these are some of the things that I learned from the case competition, but I also learned these from doing this project as a whole. Stay tuned for my next video, which will conclude my project videos and wrap up my plant pathology 499 coursework.